Hello, everyone. My name is Alexander Gonzalez, and I'm here representing domestic political dynamics for this Dt&L project, and I'm introducing Ryan Rudnick.
Hello, thank you for having me on today. My name is Ryan. I'm currently a senior rotation associate at Prudential Financial, and I'll be converting into a senior data analyst role very soon. I am also an alumni of Seton Hall University, where I was in the business school studying quantitative economics and econometrics, as well as IT management. I'm also currently completing my master's at Seton Hall, pursuing an MS in business analytics. So, as of this summer, I'll be graduating from the master's program and also converting from the rotation program at Prudential into that senior data analyst role.
Wow, very impressive.
Thank
um,
you.
I just want to get started with, talk a little more about, what you did on campus at Seton Hall. What are some memorable things that, you can count out?
Yeah, so I was involved in a few organizations at Seton Hall, most notably Consult Your Community, CYC. So I started when I was a freshman as a business analyst in Consult Your Community, and soon rose to the role of president by spring of my sophomore year. And at that point, it was a very small organization, so I was able to expand it out into an organization of over 30 people. And we provided pro bono consulting services to women and minority owned small businesses in the South Orange community. And we're very involved on campus throughout the business school through professional development events. I was also very involved in the Student Alumni Association, developing and fostering the connection between Seton Hall students and alumni, and other organizations, but those were my main priorities.
Mm. I know you mentioned you did CYC and you helped consult with these smaller businesses. Are there any skills when you went into those businesses as like a freshman, sophomore, and then going into your senior year? What are some of the skills that you really developed from those experiences?
Yeah, so some of the major skills I was able to develop were being able to ask the right questions, and then also the great communication skill of not only knowing what to say and what to ask, but deeply listening to the answers that they're providing. A lot of these business owners, they have problems, but sometimes they're not able to clearly define what their issues are. So it's difficult on the side of being a business analyst to know how to solve problems when they don't exactly know what they're looking for. So I think being able to read in between the lines, figure out what questions to ask, and really deeply understand the answers they're providing, so that you're able to be able to solve problems that they may know they're having or problems that they may not even know. Outside of that, also presentation skills, being able to concisely describe your points and back that up with data driven evidence as well. Very, very important throughout Consult Your Community and also in my career beyond.
Nice. And another thing is, when did AI start to come into your workspace? In CYC.
Yeah, so in general, I had been familiar with artificial intelligence and machine learning probably since high school. Um, but around my junior year, so I would say in the fall semester of 2023, fall 2023 is when ChatGPT became very popular. And one of my friends showed it to me when we were studying, and he started using it as sort of like a study tool where we were able to come up with additional questions that can help us prepare before it was used for cheating and all of
Mm-hmm.
that as well. But then for CYC, we started implementing it for sort of like idea generation. When you have to brainstorm potential ideas, it definitely helps to help you think outside of the box.
Mm-hmm.
And then also in terms of summarization, you could use it for summarizing meetings, getting key points, creating agendas, identifying, or I guess creating a better flow of your thought processes and organizing your thoughts. So we use it a lot for those different use cases in CYC as well.
And I know you mentioned, when you first started, your someone close to you introduced AI to you. you use it to prepare yourself for study questions. Was there another like paradigm shift moment where you thought, oh wow, like this might actually be the next best thing, like the next Wonder Bread? What was that moment like for you?
Yeah, so the first time he showed it to us, I think we were just blown away by the capabilities. Like, oh, write a haiku that sounds like Eminem, stuff like that, where it's just you don't know the power of language and the power of these large language models and what they can actually do. So that was very interesting. And then seeing people starting using it to code or to write essays. And I really realized in that point that this was going to make a huge change in the industry, in looking at like how education is being offered and how cheating is going to be mitigated.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing that you can write an entire essay with AI, but then diving a little deeper, you can sort of pick up on the patterns that AI writes with. And as it gets smarter, it gets harder and harder to detect. But I was really able to see that there was a huge change that was going to be coming within the like language communication and also the coding space.
Mm-hmm. And I know you mentioned you're part of Prudential Financial right now, and you're
Yep.
currently in a rotation program. How is the AI usage there? Between work and like integration.
Yeah. So leveraging generative AI technology is extremely supported at Prudential and encouraged, I would say, as with most companies now. It's not seen as like cheating or anything like that, like it would be in education where you're trying to learn, but it's mainly used to supplement human knowledge and I guess increase the efficiency of the code you write, increase the efficiency of your time. We only have so many hours in the day, and if you can double your speed of accomplishing tasks by using AI, that's seen as a positive, not a negative. And it's also used in automating a lot of workflows, creating agents to help you with different tasks. But especially within my rotation program, a lot of us are developers. And so using tools like Microsoft Copilot, GitHub Copilot, Claude Code, a lot of these tools definitely are encouraged and supported throughout our work.
Hmm. And just to add on to how you use AI at work, is there still like a gap do you see or like signals you see where AI is not there yet, but you can see it going there eventually?
Yeah. So I mean, obviously, we all know AI does hallucinate, and I think that's where the human in the loop is very important. And also the level of context you provide the AI. Two people can write prompts to do the same thing, but depending on the framework you're using and the amount of context and input you're providing to the AI, you can get completely different answers. So I would say part of the issue lies within the engineer themselves, in which you have to develop those prompt engineering skills to use whatever framework. I can go into that at some point if you'd like as
Hmm.
well, to be able to provide the AI with the correct amount of context. And that will help prevent hallucinations. I think more recent models as well have helped reduce the amount of hallucinations and even use like RAG techniques to pull context from the internet, make sure everything is grounded in actual evidence. So it has improved in those ways. Um, but I would say like vibe coding could work sometimes depending on the model you're using, but a lot of the time you do need a human to at least test or verify that what you're pushing to production is production ready code and doesn't have faults within it as well. For a startup, maybe they could completely vibe code everything, but for a
Hmm.
150-year-old company like Prudential, where a lot of development is mainly on enhancements and maintenance of software, you can't
Hmm.
you can't vibe code your way to success.
Hmm. And I know you mentioned like a startup could basically vibe code their way into, getting, funding money. Do you think the only thing the AI lacks right now, from your perspective, is like some sort of imagination, like only a human would have?
Partially, I would say AI is very imaginative though.
Mm-hmm.
humans do have our own unique skills. AI could help with idea generation, but ultimately it is really up to the human to decide where to go next. Um, so I wouldn't say like AI could be creative, just in different ways than humans. I wouldn't say it's not creative enough like a human could be because in some ways it's more creative.
Hmm. Yeah. And moving forward to the topic of like compliance, you work at a very regulated industry. Does there
Yes.
any compliance at, your workforce or even like from your peers that you hear at other companies regarding AI and usage of AI?
Yeah, at companies like Prudential, or other companies that my friends work at, financial services firms, there is a lot of regulation on what we can feed into AI, how we're using AI, and everything in between that. Of course, we can't feed any customer data into AI. That's a massive problem that you can see
Hmm.
if companies are feeding in like personal identifiable information that can play a huge concern for regulators, for the companies, and then also for the customer's interest as well. So that's like the main thing is making sure you're not feeding any PII into AI models. Also ensuring that the AI models that we're using, that they're not being trained on our data, that they're not being trained on what we're putting into it. So it has to be sort of one way using pre-trained models, or if we are training models, a lot of the time it's on like mock data that is meant to be representative with the same statistical patterns of our real data. So we do work on that. There is also like an entire EARB process, so Enterprise Architecture Review Board, that if we are trying to build or bring on an external AI tool from a vendor,
Hmm.
that it's going through an entire process. So looking at the value, the governance behind these tools, and all of that as well. So ensuring that whatever we're bringing into the company is regulated, is governed, and won't potentially bring on security vulnerabilities or risks to the company.
Yes, security vulnerabilities is one of my next points. We all heard about Claude Mythos, how they found day zero, errors and bugs in code. Is that something, your company or even like other companies from your peers are worried about with this incoming, source of like Claude Mythos clones eventually?
Yeah, so I haven't heard too deeply about that yet, but I would say that is definitely a concern to be worried about. And just always keep in mind, always do research and follow up with the news on whatever you're using. Um, but yeah, I haven't heard too much about that yet. I'm somewhat familiar, but not enough to speak on in depth.
Hmm. And would you think if the government were ever to implement some AI regulations, would that disrupt the workforce of like what a company like Prudential already has in place for like these extra regulations, or even like a board of regulations for AI? Would that really disrupt your workflow?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on the extent to which the government would step in and provide these regulations. I mean, there are already some regulations out there, but definitely not to the extent of where we'll see it in 3 years, 5 years from now, right?
Hmm.
We do expect there to be a lot more, and I'm not speaking like on behalf of Prudential in any way, but we already are a lot more regulated than other companies. So I would say we probably take more stringent governance methods and governance standards than other companies. So if there is regulation, a lot of those we may already be meeting. So I'm not sure exactly how much disruption there would be in that sense. Um, but yeah, if the government does, I mean, when the government really does step in and provide those governance standards, I feel it would mostly affect the companies that do not already have governance in place. A lot of these would probably be the startups that are completely AI native and probably do not have the same level of governance and compliance that that we do as a major insurer and financial services company.
And I know you mentioned, like the startups again, that are, based completely on AI vibe coded. And you mentioned that as a signal of, if potentially AI governance were to come in, those companies would be most affected. Are there any other, signals you see about, if extra government regulation came into AI would not only affect the startups, but other companies too?
Yeah, I mean, I imagine it would affect like every company that uses AI, which is pretty much every company now. It wouldn't only affect startups, just probably more than others. Every company would be like somewhat affected in some way, but it is hard to know what sort of effects would happen from this regulation, since this is such a new field, such a new technology that
Mm-hmm.
um, like even 5 years ago we had no idea about generative AI. At least most people didn't. Um, so it's difficult with the rapid pace of improvement in technology. What sort of government regulation would be in place, and then how that would affect companies. It's hard for me
Mm-hmm.
to also say
Yeah.
as someone in technology and not like I'm not a I'm not a
Mm-hmm.
lawyer. I don't work
Mm-hmm.
in compliance, but I could see it from the technology perspective that if anything, it would just be more guardrails in
Mm-hmm.
place to make sure that there is security within the technology, and that number one, no customer data is being just given to the AI, right? It's not training on customers' data, because that is definitely what needs to be kept most secret.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah,
Yeah. Thank you for your response.
of
Moving on
course.
to, flexibility. A lot of people have different assumptions about how AI is used in the workforce. Some of those like common assumptions are like, oh, people are, getting two jobs now and, making AI do one of their jobs. Could you like dismiss some of those AI, myths that, it's like all powerful and like does all your job for you?
Yeah. So vibe coding is definitely a thing, and a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people are definitely using that. But AI can't just do the job for you, at least yet, right? You could build agents that can do most of the work, but you always still need the human in the loop. For example, when you have a task, you could tell the AI what to do, but who is identifying the task? Who is meeting with business partners, identifying the requirements, defining that in easy language, and then feeding that into the AI? You still need that person there, right? So in terms of like AI just doing your job, maybe one day it will and it'll
Mm-hmm.
come for all of us, but for now you still need a person to be communicative. You still need to have those um, skills of communication, empathy, being able to meet with your business partners, meet with whoever your stakeholders are, and being able to identify like what needs to be done is a very important part that AI cannot do yet. Once you figure out what needs to be done, yeah, AI can do the development. But a lot of the time, still, you still want oversight into what is being developed, how it's being developed, because there are a lot of issues where uh, vibe coded software is pushed directly to production, and it can break things. So you still need a lot in place to make sure that doesn't happen. And then in terms of your point of someone like working two jobs with AI, like that is interesting to think about, because I mean, I feel if the companies don't know, that is entirely possible,
Mm-hmm.
because we've seen that during COVID where people have multiple remote jobs at once, right?
Yeah.
And if maybe you have a job that would traditionally take 40 hours a week, and now it only takes you 20 using AI, maybe someone does have two jobs and hides kind of behind their computer, and their company doesn't even realize. i
Mm-hmm.
i obviously I don't see that at Prudential. I can't read anyone's minds, but
Uh-huh.
there are like cybersecurity teams that do look at that. And I assume most companies do have cybersecurity teams that can try to find ways of identifying that, especially like the people who do the little mouse wiggle on
Uh-huh.
Teams, things like that. Companies can see through that. So I don't think that would be a major thing. I think what I would mostly see is people having their day job and then having a side business
Mm.
where they're
Hmm.
building something with AI outside of their day-to-day work. That's where I would see the most growth in that area.
And that goes kind of straight into like what I was going to talk about next. What are some AI projects, that interest you that don't always have to do with work, but that have helped you out in your daily life?
Yeah. Um, so I'm gonna be honest with this, like because I'm so busy outside of work between my masters, I work
Uh-huh.
with a nonprofit and everything. I have not had as much time to build out like my own AI project.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people who I'm friends with are and trying to start their own businesses. So I unfortunately have not gotten there yet. Still
Mm-hmm.
trying to get my base, get
Mm-hmm.
my feet on the ground, right? Build up my foundations. Um, but yeah, there is a lot of interesting stuff out there and ways that you can use AI to solve problems that traditionally you would need a 5, 10, 20 team of right?
Mm-hmm.
Developers
Definitely.
to do, and now just one person, a couple weekends, and Claude can do a lot of that work. Um, Sorry, I don't really have my
Yeah.
own my
Uh-huh.
own AI passion project right now, but there's a lot you can do if you just have a good idea and you have the resources and time to do it.
Definitely. And on my final point here, there's a framework called the FAIR framework. Flexibility, adaptability, imagination, and resilience. For these younger students, these undergrads going for internships and wanting to show that they're AI ready, how would you recommend that they enable like all parts of this framework in order to like better themselves?
Yeah. So you said flexibility, adaptability. What
Imagination
was
and
it?
resilience.
Yeah. Um, I would say the first two are just very important when you're going into technology. Being able to tell employers or share the fact that you can pick up this technology really fast, move around to different technologies. I've seen that being like a rotation associate. So people who join into rotation programs or leadership development programs are really showing that they have that flexibility and adaptability in terms of what was the next one? The imagination.
Imagination, yes.
Yeah. So I guess that is also where building your own projects can come in handy. So I think a lot of people who try to get jobs now, if you can build out your own like GitHub portfolio, have your own repos in GitHub, build out your own projects, put it all on there, or have a website, show that you have the imagination to build out something that is yours,
Mm-hmm.
that someone else didn't come up with the idea and bring it to you, that you came up with the idea on your own and leveraged your skills of adaptability and flexibility to build your own project. I think that's where the I really comes in, is having your own ideas, right?
Mm-hmm.
Building your own portfolio. And the last one was resilience,
Yes.
was it?
Yes.
Yeah. With resilience, I think in this world of innovation and disruption happening faster and faster as time passes. Staying resilient, staying positive is very important. Um, Being able to show that, like, maybe someone started off in college majoring in computer science, they learned to code, and now really coding isn't the main thing anymore. It's mainly uh, being able to think about architecture, is like they can sort of pitch that in a new way, as maybe I started as like a developer, but now I think about the higher level architecture. I think about how what I learned in my career or in my college I'm able to put into a new career that didn't exist in the past, is being
Mm-hmm.
able to use imagination and all of that together to think about what will these future careers look like. Careers 5 years ago look nothing like they did today, just like careers 10, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Everything is so different and rapidly changing and disrupting that staying resilient is very important. Thinking with your imagination about what comes next, being flexible and adaptable to shifting your skills and identifying which skills are transferable to these new areas is very important. So I would say, yeah, that sounds like a great framework, and it sounds like everything does kind of blend together in certain ways.
Yeah, thank you so much. I just want to thank you for
Of
your time.
course.
Thank you for coming
Yeah.
on. Taking time out of your busy day, and everyone. That was Ryan Rudnick, and this is Domestic Political Dynamics. Thank you.
Thank you so much.